Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's this usual game of where I get screwed by my microphone. So again, this microphone is performing tricks. I don't know why it does this. What it'll do is it'll switch to um, the AirPods, and then it will not like it'll show that it's crossed out on the settings in here. And I go in and I'm like, okay, this should work if I just unmute it. And then I do that. Yeah, I really wanted to do this with the good mic because I bought this mic, and so I'm really trying to make that. But this has got to be one of the more frustrating experiences of my life, folks. So I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for bearing with me. I don't know why it keeps doing this. I may have to call someone from the microphone company and ask them with all of my free time that I have, which is just a ton. And oh my God, do I have free time? Up the wazoo, like I'm sure all of you do. Okay, let me try this one more time. Do unplug and replug and see if we can make this work. And then we're just going to go for this. All right. So just give me one more opportunity because I'd really like to use the mic. Okay. You can still hear me because I'm on the AirPods. It's the AirPods. The AirPods it is. Can you hear me on the AirPods? We're back. I you guys, I assume couldn't hear me because I couldn't see it before when it was on the like in the system preferences. Oh, that should be on. Hold on. Input level. There we go. Hello, hello. No. Hello, hello. Okay, you can hear me now. This is ridiculous. And I don't know what the hell to do. So, because this thing worked all day yesterday, maybe just taking a break today. It's in a bad mood. We're just gonna go with these damn things. So, how the hell are all you guys? Let's get past all this stupidity. What's going on out there for you? Everybody have a good day? Doing well? Was Tony's show good? Could not be there, which was a shame. I always like to do my Tony appearance if I can. It's like a natural caffeine product, or from what I hear, maybe meth or something. But I don't know about that stuff. I just know that it gives me some serious energy to want to kick butt. And how can we start better than making Cliff's note today about FAFO, everybody? Are we ready for some FAFO? Are we ready for some FAFO? Let's get this going, all right? So, well, Kelly, I'll get to your question about January 6th supporters turning on him in a little bit. And I think absolutely the January 6th supporters are going to turn on him. All sorts of them are going to with time because he won't do things. He'll do things that'll hurt them. And you know why some of them will? Let's do the takedown. So we do our FAFO segment, recurring FAFO segment here. We do it for a reason because lots of people voted for Donald Trump stupidly. And you see, they didn't seem to realize when he said they were going to deport people like them that he was going to deport people like them. They didn't seem to realize when he said that he was going to cut Social Security and other benefits for people like them, he was going to cut Social Security and other benefits like them. They didn't realize when he said he all sorts of racist statements about their particular religion, their particular race, their ethnicity, that he actually believed racist statements about their race, ethnicity, and religion. It's kind of hard to know where evolution went wrong here and what the hell is wrong with people. But we're in that situation, and Donald Trump yesterday had a flurry, not the kind you get at Wendy's, which is very yummy, but a large group of executive orders, and those pretty much screwed all of the people you would expect they would screw. And many of them were Trump voters. Now, there were the ones crazy enough to spend their hard-earned money, kind of like when you overpay to go to Disney, which we all do, and you stay and you can't believe that for $700 you're in some crappy hotel where it smells like old Elon Musk, and the ceiling is sort of caving in on you, and you kind of suspect there's lead in the pipes. That's kind of the experience people had. They showed up in Washington and paid their thousands of hard-earned dollars, or not hard-earned, who knows, to be there for Donald Trump. And of course, as we spoke about yesterday, he didn't want anything to do with them because he never does. Because behind their backs, he refers to them as trash. And if they can't afford to get in the Mar-a-Lago, I've heard the kind of trash that can have your face, completely transformed, and add gazongas, or if you're a guy like testicles that hang down to your ankles, he'll let you right in if you can afford that stuff. But if you're just a regular trash, he wants nothing to do with you. So once he got a little too cold for little Donald, he held his he found a way to make more money off of it. Hey, I'll hold the damn thing inside. He did, and he screwed his own supporters doing that because they couldn't afford the tickets and they couldn't fit in the rotunda in the Capitol. So people like Bezos, who'd already given him like what, 1 million, 2 million, got to shell out more money to be there with him. And that must have been, wow, a fun party. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Jeff Bezos. Those are the kinds of parties that you went to in college. You know what I'm talking about. In any case, we move on to the specific folks who are this week's FAFO victims. First, Donald Trump. This, I don't think this was an executive order. May have been, didn't see it, but magically, the Spanish language website for the White House is gone, just disappeared. Adios, I guess you would say. Now, for the large group of Latino voters that were smart enough to do the right thing, as always, I don't judge whole groups. I judge the specific people in those groups who are stupid. For everyone else who's Latino, I feel sorry for you. You didn't deserve this. You were betrayed by other people, including white people like me. Not specifically me, but like me. Let's look at quickly the numbers on this, because this is an important one. All right, and I had them right here. So overall, well, if you look, you will find that Latinos voted overall. I think it's 42%. Is it in favor of Trump? But Latino men 47%. Latino men almost gave Trump a majority. Why? When he's talking about deporting their families and saying they came from S-hole countries, and referring to them as criminals and rapists. I don't know, but he played that masculine bling game. And no, I'm not being racist, because the masculine bling, reality show TV guy, it worked on numerous groups of men. It worked on young white men. It worked on Latino men. It even worked on some black men who figures are now showing, a few percent more. Not as large a number, but so sure, they voted for him. 47% Latino men overall. I guess it was 42%. And what do you got for that? You're going to be, not only you got deportations coming, not only you have disrespect coming, not only you have racism up the wazoo coming, you don't have a government website in what may be your first language, and just the disrespect of, if it's not in your first language, him giving you a big middle finger. Almost not a big middle finger, because Trump has very little hands, so a little middle finger, but he gave you a middle finger, and he did that because, of course, too bad. I ran on hating people like you, and I got to keep my white base, so I'm going to keep hating people like you. He also rescinded an executive order by Biden to keep the prescription drug prices down. Now, there are numerous ways we've done this. Of course, giving Medicare, that was a law. The ability to bulk negotiate, Trump would have to undo that with a law. Can't do that. This was a major priority for the Biden administration, but there was an executive order just kind of making companies, I don't know all the specifics of it, keep their prices a little bit lower. Trump right away rescinded that. You'd be interested to know that 51% of people over 65 voted for Donald Trump, and 47% voted for Kamala Harris. So for that 47%, I would like to say I'm very sorry you were saddled with the 51% of smelly a-holes who just screwed you, and your prescription drugs will get more expensive because of them. And they did it to themselves. And I'm sure we're going to hear some of them complaints about how they can't afford their prescriptions. And I'm going to cry tears. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to feel no sympathy at all. And I'm going to say, if you don't get your prescriptions and something awful happens to you, we're adults, as you guys all like to say, right? Right? No, no safe spaces, and we no crying in baseball. You chose to do this. You knew you need prescription drugs. You knew who the guy was who was fighting against cheap prescription drugs. You voted for him anyhow. I'll save my sympathy for the 47% of those over 65 who voted for Kamala Harris, as well as everyone else who needs prescription drugs, by the way, because it goes way beyond. It's just elderly disproportionately need more. All right. Our third group. Well, Kamala Harris actually improved upon Joe Biden total among union voters, which was an interesting statistic. I couldn't find the breakdown of men versus women, but I gotta believe a majority of union men voted for Trump. And I did find that 42% of union voters overall voted for Trump. And people are like, well, that's an improvement. It is an improvement upon Biden, and it's still utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. There's one party that literally fights for your livelihood, for your benefits, for your pay, for your family, for everything every day. And there's another party that actively attacks it and has been constantly. And 42% of you idiots are voting for that person. And you want my sympathy? You got none. All right? You got none. I'll never forget one time when I drove by the to pick up. I'd done a book party when I wrote my book, Real McCain, at the AFL-CIO. And we happen to have a Subaru, which, if anybody knows anything about cars at this point, it ain't what it used to be. At this point, Subarus are like, they're made in Indiana, a lot of the car parts in Alabama, right? And Fords, other cars, some other parts are made out of country. Like, it's not as simple, it's an American car, a non American car thing anymore. And I'll never forget, we parked there to pick this stuff up, and some big burly guy came out. And I'm not trying to be mean here. It's just like, hey, you dare bring that car in the House of Labor? Like, dude, the car was made in Indiana. We got to get with the times, all right, and stop falling for demagogic tricks and stupid little things and attacks on Japan and China and other places like that, and realize Trump can attack China all day long. He had a bank account there, which was a pretty public thing. He sat there and said she did a terrific job on that word that I can only say a rhyming word, rovid, because they won't allow me to say the word here on YouTube or I get in trouble. I mean, him, his whole administration, Elon Musk literally has his biggest gigafactory in Shanghai. These guys are so tied into China. I mean, Mitch McConnell married into basically the Chinese royal family. And essentially was her dad was a roommate of one of the original founders of the Chinese Communist Party. They are so dirty with not communist, but it ends up being this kleptocratic Chinese money that it's a joke. But these union guys are falling for it. Just attack China and they'll believe you. So that's what Trumpist people do. And 42% of these schmucks went and they voted for Trump. And now Schedule F is being rescinded and government workers may be fired. And there's obviously more to that because they want to control our bureaucracy, because it's another part they want to destroy of the various institutions that can stand up to Trump. They've already compromised our judiciary. Our media compromised itself. And we've got the bureaucracy. We've got some very good non-political people, and my phone keeps blinging. I am sorry, or binging. So what happens? Well, you just voted in Schedule F, or Schedule F wasn't rescinded; it was put back in. I'm sorry. The executive order protecting government workers. So now he's going to fire all sorts of government workers who are union employees. And I'm guessing, especially the white guys, many of them voted for Donald Trump. I would guess a majority of them. Certainly a majority of union white guys, I'd bet my life on it, voted for Trump. And maybe a majority of men in general. Good job. No tears. I know you're in the House of Labor, but apparently you're not voting in favor of the House of Labor. I'm more in favor of labor with my Subaru than you are voting for Trump. Just sort of maybe put that together. And I think that may be the end of our section. I thought I had a fourth one, but I think that should be enough. Those are our groups who done chose to screw themselves this week. Oh no, I know who the fourth one was. The police unions. We all love the police unions, don't we? We're filled with right-wing racists who don't care when white cops shoot anybody else, particularly anybody else who's not white. And we're four square behind Donald Trump, endorsed Donald Trump. And yeah, they were pretty pissed the other day when Donald Trump went ahead and put out pardons for 1,500 people that attacked Capitol Police who were just trying to defend the citadel of our democracy, and stabbed, beat, gouged, punched, Yeah, they were pissed. They called it a disgrace and outrage and whatever. It wasn't a disgrace and an outrage when you stood on a stage with this guy. This guy that got up and had a whole national anthem. He put his hand over his heart, although I get he doesn't really know how to do that. It's hard. He doesn't know which side it's on. There's math involved. There's flab involved. In any case, he stood up and swayed along like it was Ave Maria to the national anthem performed by the January 6th hostages, as he called them. He'd been calling them hostages a long time. He'd been referring to he was going to do this pardon a long time. And of course, we talked yesterday about the reasons he did it. It's done. And you guys knew it and you supported him and you were vicious in your attacks on Kamala Harris. And I'm sure it had nothing to do with her being a black woman, being that she was a prosecutor and an attorney general. How could you support that over a multiple time criminal, one guy that was indicted 427 times? I exaggerate, it was like 90 something counts. Folks, there you go. Police unions, other, the public sector unions, and the Latina community and the elderly community, I say to you today, not all of you, just the large percentages of you that supported Donald Trump, FAFO, you did this to yourself. You already put yourself. There you go. You're done. It actually worked so far. How's the sound, by the way, through these things? Does it sound okay? Because I want to know if we're having issues where like the sound is crappy or something. The only thing I can think of doing, by the way, is I'm gonna sit here in between. Maybe this computer needs to be taught that this is the microphone it's using from now on. So I'm gonna sit here when I'm not doing these with you guys, and I'm gonna do some live streams by myself. It'll be fun. It's sort of the way Ben Shapiro has fun by himself, but different. And when I put those live streams on, I will just sit here and keep sort of training it, I guess, that this is the mic it should recognize. Besides that, I can call the company. I can't figure anything else out. That's the issue here. Because again, plugged in, it's showing up. It says the mic is there. I click on the mic. It says it's on that mic. And then it just sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. And again, unless it's the computer. Which I meant to buy more of, a new one. And I told you guys I was going to, and this weird thing happened, which is we got, I don't know, 146 inches of snow, and it's been like below zero since then. So it's still frozen, and there's a lot still around here. I'm sure a lot of you dealing with it. Tony is in the Ozarks. I am here in Cincinnati. So time when I haven't been in my between my 7 minutes away, I time it. I'm nerdy that way from my office to home. I haven't been going that far away because the roads suck and there's a lot of ice in a lot of places and whatever. And so the Apple Store isn't right near me. So we'll get to that. We shall get there. But today, guys, we're just going to have fun together. All right. We're just going to party together because Tony's not showing up, lazy loser that he is. I kid because I love him. And the guest, I think I told you I was thinking about yesterday, ended up not, I didn't think they'd be able to make it. And they were not able to. But as I've told you before, I like to do one of these 3 a week without a guest because the part of this I do like interviewing guests. I shouldn't say I don't. I always like meeting people, but you're a lot more people than one guest. So by doing this, I get to sort of meet you, get to know you guys, and get to see what's going on with you. So ask away, ask questions about anything you want. Donald Trump gonna make it another 2 years with that heart filled with I think it beats based on some combination of French fries and old grease. But I don't know. Is Elon Musk slowly imploding like one of his rockets? Seems to be, but we can talk about that. Who do I think is going to win? The NBA championship? Don't know. There are things I know more about and things I know less about. But I'll tell you anything you want to know. I was telling this to somebody the other day. I've talked about the issue of firearms and the danger and the need for reforms, massive reforms. Worked with Michael Bloomberg, his group, Every Time for Gun Safety. We passed a lot of safer state laws. We set the let's say we put in motion what eventually became the law that Biden was able to sign that closed 2 major loopholes. Right, there was a loophole where if you had a boyfriend So we had a ban on if you were committed domestic violence, misdemeanor domestic violence, that you could not get a hold of a firearm, rightfully so. But misdemeanor domestic violence was defined as if you were married to somebody, lived with them, or had a child with them. At least one of those three. So if you just were stalking, you were just a boyfriend, angry boyfriend, and yes, there are girlfriends too here and there, but 90 whatever percent are boyfriends. So let's just be honest about it. You could still get a hold of a firearm even if you had that. We closed that loophole. It saved a lot of lives. Joe Biden did. Got Republicans to go along with it when they were covering their butts because there are all of those tragic, shootings that happened. So, you know, we did that, but I never showed people this before, and they're like, because they come at me, they're like, "Why are you so anti? Why do you hate guns, man? Where's your the right comes at me." So I found this the other day. Have I shown this to you before? This is like a little, I don't know, little NRA medal that I got. Yeah. I used to shoot competitively 6 years in a row on a team when I went to camp up in New Hampshire. And this is a sharpshooter. I should put this up here right now, just for those NRA guys. So I used to love it when they would come in and they would attack me. I forgot I had this up there and try to be like, "You hate guns, you're from the city, you don't know anything." I'm like, you're right. I don't know anything except for the competitive shooting I did for 6 summers where I won medals. Um, shut up. I can outshoot you. My guess is if Wayne LaPierre and I got in a contest, I would destroy him in putting away targets. I'm talking about targets, by the way, not people, because I'm not the NRA. See, I don't believe in the people are disposable for our product. But in any case, it was an interesting thing I thought of yesterday. Um, James, I see ketamine in here, so that's got to be a reference to our good friend Elon. Here's a good question. I wrote a Substack on Elon. I may share it here with you. What did I call it? The Death of the American Myth. And I don't want you to go there right now because I like it when you're here. When I'm here, it seems like something we should all do together. Um, but what I can do is send you a link, encourage you to subscribe to my Substack. I called it Elon Musk and the Death of the American Myth. And my whole point was this whole myth, I think he has finally stuck the nail in the coffin, and the media will still try to repeat it, of the fact that people have made it because of the fact that they some meritocracy, like some genius that occurred, and that they didn't have a choice between two things and got lucky, or they weren't in the right place at the right time. Somebody put in an article that Elon Musk, a lot of the guys like him, were standing in the right places in business and math departments when the sum of all human knowledge went online in the creation of the World Wide Web, as we referred to it back in those days. And it was this big playground, and you could come up with any idea because there was nothing. It was like a blank slate. And they were there at that time. And they generally, I know this will shock you, were white guys who came from backgrounds like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, that were upper class or upper middle class, who had the money to go and take risks. Because it's really easy to go take a risk when you have money. I'll be honest, even coming from my background, I'm nothing like those guys, but even coming from some sort of a middle class ish, maybe a little above that, but just that kind of a background, I was able to take some risks because I knew I was never going to starve, and I knew I was never going to not have health care. It's amazing what you can do. And they all think that they're geniuses and it's meritocracy. I'll throw it in here. I would say, please, save it for later. Don't go read it right now. But I'd love it if you guys read it and told me what you thought. Because to me, the myth that there's this meritocracy, that there's this genius, this apartheid diamond baby, who I don't know if it was diamonds, but whatever. His family didn't have to compete with anybody in South Africa, and then he came over here and parlayed that into PayPal and that into the other things, and bought other people's ideas because he had the money to buy them, and was able to expand on them, and was able to use that money to then get investment and subsidies from the government. Like, this isn't hard. You're not a genius, right? Like, other people develop the ideas. You're given money to start off with. The best thing you could argue is you made some good decisions and you had some luck. Okay, I can give you that. But my God, the bad decisions you've made over the last 5 years more than make up for any good decision you ever made. So I want to know, House Sparks raid, yay, the House Sparks people here. House Sparks people are, as is the usual with one Cliff Schecter. I hate referring to myself in the third person. Me, there's a bit of a mic issue. So hopefully you can hear me well. Everybody says they can hear me well through the earbuds, and that's a good thing. Um, I want to know what you all think. I really do. So I'm going to ask you this. I know we talk about multiple things in here, but I know Musk is a topic of interest. What did it to him? Was it the kid? Was it his son who he lost his son because his son is now his daughter? He just made a huge deal about that. Was it that he went and made uncle jokes, cringe uncle jokes on Twitter, and he was so used to everybody laughing at everything he said because he was a billionaire, and suddenly he had a real audience of people that didn't need to kiss his butt, and they're like, "Dude, you're so socially awkward and not funny." What led this guy who voted for Obama, voted for Hillary in 16, and may have voted for Biden in 20? That one I don't know. What led him to become so radicalized? Is it Vladimir Putin? I mean, he seems to really believe it though. So I can't believe, are we, I've said before, like, I said this on some show or somewhere that we experienced, it started becoming a very strange experience with Twitter and other social media, right? Someone would, a friend of yours, that you didn't know that well, a friend online, or someone would pass away. It's going to happen to all of us. So might as well talk about it. And it's like suddenly the line of commentary stops. It's sad. I mean, it's not almost sad. It's really sad. It's like, boom, 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 and then it ends. And for the first time, it's like you see where your friends sort of in public disappear, people that were always maybe private before or whatever. And I feel like we're now experiencing the same thing with seeing people who should have gotten off the stage long ago publicly lose their minds. The people that we saw who were very different people. And I'm not saying Elon Musk was some avatar of class and kindness. He obviously always had the apartheid influence. He always treated his workers like crap. He always was basically a really bad person and behind closed doors. But I would tell you on the left, I've worked for a few employees I could expose right here who are horrendous to work for and probably will someday. Hey, maybe we'll make that part of the paid Patreon. Um, who proclaim one thing in public, workers' rights, and I care about people, whatever, and behind closed doors, we're just completely different. So that wouldn't be that as unusual as we all wish it would be, that he would proclaim his liberalism publicly. And he was like what the tech bros used to be, where they started following these losers like this Yarvin guy and Thiel and all of them and became tech bro fascists. They were libertarians, which meant they weren't helpful to society. They didn't acknowledge that DARPA, which became the internet and everything, was created with public funds, or they wouldn't have their billions. They didn't acknowledge that a lot of them went to public state schools and things of that sort. And even so, if they didn't, they drove on roads and used libraries and things like that we all pay for. Probably had contact with a policeman. We pay their salary, or fireman, on and on and on. They never acknowledge any of that stuff. Now, like that guy in California, they just want their own private fire forces, public private fire forces when they're in trouble. But do I sound like Seth Rogen? I just caught that Grumpy Cat. Maybe. I've been told before. Here's what I've gotten. I've gotten Sherrod Brown, gravelly voice, I think. I've gotten who else have I gotten that I sound like? I don't know if I've heard Seth Rogen. I used to hear when I was younger that I looked like Michael Douglas. Um, I'm not bragging. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I got that from a couple of people. I don't know that that's true anymore. I don't know. I think he aged more gracefully than me. Michael Douglas is royalty. I'm just me. Um, let's get back to where we were. Um, Cliff, please play the comments from the Denmark lawmaker. Tell you to F off. Yes. I actually was going to bring that up today as one of our potential moments, and to show you that people can speak out, and we've seen a couple of them, right? Or I may say that for tomorrow. I ended up running into the technical issues today, and I was going to prepare one. It was going to be based. There was that pastor that spoke out against Trump. Um, but I can, if you're cool with me and you guys are a little bit patient, I'm a pretty quick study. What I easily could do is just open a window or two here. And by the end of this show, I can put together, even as we're talking, a takedown that sort of hails our folks. Jim Acosta, you may have seen also, who now they're going to banish, of course, to like midnight or 4 in the morning and create some new 25th hour for him because he's actually talented, while Scott Jennings barfs up idiocy all the time. Just took apart Phil Burchett, that right wing clown, for a number of reasons. Phil Burchett doesn't really get enough attention. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and used to be Matt Gaetz and a few others stole it all. And Burchett is every bit as stupid and every bit as dangerous. He's on that level that they are. Maybe it's just because he's uglier. I mean, I hate to say it, but you know, these things. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Less charisma. I mean, I don't find that Marjorie Taylor Greene has charisma, so it's kind of a hard thing for me to say. MTG is the banjo lady, right? And she gets a lot of attention, so I don't know why Phil Berger doesn't. But in any case, you can tell me. I can put another takedown together with Acosta and the pastor. I think it was a pastor. I mean, I know it was, but pastor, preacher. I may be using the wrong term. And speaking truth to power, and our friend, our Dutch lawmaker. I think I can do that, guys. And it might be a challenge. Can I do it on the fly? Do you want to see if I can? Let's go a little further first into this before I take a risk of alienating all of you by tripping over everything. I mean, I've already lost my microphone, so I suppose anything can happen. Watch, these things are going to end up dying on me probably. I'm not even kidding. Okay. Have not given acknowledgement yet, and this is where I'll say, folks, Patreon, please join Patreon. I know, Jim, you may have put it up earlier. If you can put it up again, we are pushing everybody there. If you're a YouTube subscriber or a member, we love you. But if you even can switch over from YouTube member to Patreon member, you will find there are many more options. I've sent you a message already earlier about how we're going to consolidate the YouTube members to just one option because we can't keep track of it all. That is going to happen. It hasn't happened yet, which means it will get more expensive for some folks, whereas for a cheaper amount, you could still get good stuff at Patreon. You know, it might only get like $1 or something more expensive at Patreon, or it might get 3 or 4 for you. So, but we do have to consolidate there. So I really do beg of you. I really want Patreon to be the place. So people who are willing to switch over, people who are willing to join, and you do know you can join for free right away. I mean, you will get 2 videos a week. You'll get a post or 2 a month. You won't get the regular posts every day. You won't get all the other stuff. But I think, and I know there's still people who email me. I know I need to get to this. It's just I've got, thankfully, an amazing assistant now, and where I'm catching up from being 3 months behind to find ways to help people that need help, because I want everybody who wants to access this to be able to access this. Get some cabled in-ear monitors, Cliff. Do you mean like the big headphone things? I have those and use those for Bob Seska's show. I don't know if that's what you mean. I can put those on, but I don't think those are going to help this. Do I dare try this again? What do you think? Do we play with fire? Do we play with fire? Do we screw around with it? Come on, guys. I'm in a mood. I'm in a fun kind of screw around, see what happens kind of mood. So you know what I'm going to do, man? I am going to switch over and see if this stupid thing works. Right? You'll stay here. We'll get it fixed, even if I have to like use a carrier pigeon to send all of like everything I want to do to you, or do for you. That sounded bad. All right, here we go. Ready? Sure microphone. It may be working. It may be working. Is it working? I think it's working. Tell me. Somebody tell me quickly. I saw the little things lighting up. Come on. Is it working? Is it working? Is it working? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Am I alive? Tell me. I hear something now. Sounds better. Yes, it's my microphone. We brought it back from the dead. See? Why, guys? Why wouldn't it do this before, but it'll do it now? What is your problem? You and I are going to step outside. And I'm telling you, I'm a man of peace, but this microphone deserves a beating at this point. This microphone is like, it's like when one of my kids was really bad, but times 1,000. I didn't believe in the beating the kids thing because that seemed like a bad idea. But this microphone, this inanimate object that controls my life, I think it needs a beat down. Okay. So we were talking about Elon Musk at some point and got off on other stuff. Sounds great. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is right. We can use these, but this is so much better. And that's my frustration. Your beautiful bass overtones are thrilling. Well, thank you, Mr. Stoner. I know because I sound like Seth Rogen. All right. We were going to do some stuff and things. We also were going to talk about Ross Ulbricht. Are you guys familiar with that story? Are you familiar with Ross Ulbricht, Mr. Silk Road? It was actually the name of this podcast because it's so interesting and because I saw something about him that I didn't see anybody else cover that answered the whole damn story to me. Let's do that. Let's take down Donald Trump around what he did for Ross Ulbricht. Can we do that? I think we should do that. This seems like a natural point to do it. Let's find what I've got on old Ross here. So I do need a few notes that are in front of me. And come on, Ross. Come on, Ross. There you go. All right, guys. Are we ready? Are we ready? You can't really yell back at me. So, okay, I'm going to assume you're ready. So Ross Ulbricht started Silk Road 2011 on the dark web. I know they always say that. It's scary. And what he did he created a drug running operation online. He made it so people could trade drugs and sell drugs illegally. This is something that we actually have laws against. I know Donald Trump doesn't believe in laws or that they should apply to anybody, but we did. So what ended up happening? He started, of course, he was one of these libertarian tech bro, blah, 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 exhausting. And now I'm sure he's a fascist because they've all become that. But under the moniker Dread Pirate Roberts, or was it Dread? Yeah, which pisses me off because that's from, you know what that's from. That's from Never Start a Land War in Asia. Everybody should know that. You killed my father, prepare to die. My name is Anteo Montoya. There's so many great lines in that movie. So he stole a line from The Princess Bride. He started this thing. There apparently was, and again, hopefully I won't get demonetized, but I'm just going to say it the way it is. There was trafficking going on there too, and not of the drug variety, of the breathing with a pulse and a heartbeat variety, and other crime. So he was going around the system using a dark web, using the internet as one does, to sell drugs and make lots of money. In 2013, and it was called Silk Road. 2013, he went off. At least 6 drug overdose deaths have been directly linked to what he did. I'm sure there are a ton more. It's like when they do that stuff about military officers and they give you their killed in action numbers, and you just know they killed a lot more people because it has to be you have to be able to 100% sort of attribute it to them. So he was arrested in 2013 and he was sentenced life in prison for being a horrible person and had a site that people could sell all sorts of illegal items, including drugs, narcotics, and it was basically a criminal enterprise. Well, and it was an online marketplace, right? So it's like you're going to like eBay, but hey, it's, for drugs and for other items that are illegal. I think you can get guns there. And again, the other thing I can't talk about, with the traffic situation, there are a lot of cars on the road, as you know. So, nearly 13,000 listings for controlled substances are posted on the site. Prosecutors said more than 200 million was traded on the site before it was shut down. And that was 200 million was worth even more money, a decade and a half ago. It's worth a lot of money now. Supporters, of course, blah, blah, blah. I'm a libertarian. I mean, how could dare you do that? And of course, the Elon Musk types and all the bros out there were just behind him. Now, why do you think that was? And why do you think that Donald Trump, of all people, would do this? We know that he just pardoned 1,500 domestic terrorist, and he did that to help himself, right? It was the final whitewashing, the final job, the final cleaning job, if you will, like after an assassin's hit of what happened on January 6th. First, all the Republicans that condemned him, of course, erased everything they said and went back and said, oh, they're exaggerating. It was just a tour. And then the media started referring to it in lighter terms. Oh, it wasn't as big of a deal. And Trump, in the absence of Democrats talking about it enough, both Democrats in Congress, but worst of all, the Department of Justice and Homeland Security. Yes, you again, Merrick Garland. I'd like to go a day without mentioning how much you suck, but it seems impossible. What Trump was allowed to do, because when only one person's doing the talking, that's who people believe, spread lie after lie after lie about people there peacefully. Most of them were there peacefully and they were singing and that nobody had any guns there. All false, obviously. You're attacking when 150 something or whatever was it? I think it's actually 250 something. So I think I'm getting it wrong. Police have to go to the hospital for being speared, kicked, gouged, trampled, crushed. You know, it probably was worse than you're saying. And tours are pretty easy to get. You don't need to show up and break in for a tour. So he was willing to pardon all of them. And then he comes and he pardons Ross Ulbricht. Why? Right? Well, you know why he pardoned all of them. He pardoned all of them, A, because it whitewashed this, and B, because now he's got a happy little militia. I mean, which Proud Boys and Oath Keepers and others who've had military training aren't going to do whatever Trump asks them to do now if that Trump needs it. But when it comes to this guy, why? Why would you do it? I mean, sure, he may have made some money, but he's not some billionaire that I'm aware of. But he was the first one to use crypto. They call him almost the crypto god. And that's what got my attention, of course. And we don't have anyone talking about it. Again, people, this is right out there in the open. They want to create a crypto country. They want to create an almost online country. That's what Greenland is supposed to be, filled with data centers, filled with their libertarian philosophy. They can go live there as it's melting, but they don't believe in climate change because they're stupid, and and revoke their citizenship from the United States, declare the citizens of whatever new country is there, and live out their stupid fantasies, their childish, pre-pubic, never actually reached adulthood incel fantasies. Well, this guy, and part of that whole thing is it starts with, which is why electing these guys was stupid, is they crashed the dollar and world currency, and the U.S. as a reserve currency ceases to be one because it's not trustworthy anymore, and everybody moves to Bitcoin and crypto. And just like that crypto scam that Trump ran a couple days, just like Hawk Tuah Girl, because that's the league that Trump is in, and made a couple $billion. And he'll do more of them, just like that. Trump coin or whatever, meme coin, Trump, and people bought into it because they thought this would have some inherent value. And there's always more suckers you can trick. He's got that same pool he can trick again and again. They'll give their life savings to come to an inauguration and stand out in the cold. They'll give their life savings to a stupid coin that's going to end up blowing up in their faces and being worth nothing. There's no level of stupid, it seems, where there's a ceiling among Trump supporters. So, why would this guy be useful? Well, I don't know. A cryptocurrency pioneer who figured out a way around the system and figured out a way to make tons of money doing illegal crap and get paid in crypto. That might be somebody who's just useful to Donald Trump and the whole project of he and his oligarch buddies to just make gazillions off of crypto. I mean, even if they don't reach like their full nirvana of Greenland and their online country of a bunch of annoying white racist incel stupid people with senses of humor of this desk, they may reach a point of just of and if they have not able to destroy the US currency and have it become our backup currency, just making more mainstream. Their ripoffs, their cons, their scams. It's like derivative swaps back in 2007, 2008 with the real estate market. It'll eventually crash, but they'll be okay. They'll be wealthy off of it. In fact, like people were off of that. It's just everybody else who buys into it will get screwed. And everybody else is just goo for their projects, right? I mean, Peter Thiel wants to live forever, folks. You're Soylent Green as far as he's concerned. So what do? Well, you find little crypto genius here, Ross Ulbricht, who figured out a way around everything. And that's why he appealed to libertarian voters. And I don't think Trump's really thinking, I don't think Trump wants to run for re-election. I don't think he'll be alive anyhow. He can't legally, but I'm talking about him ignoring the Constitution, which I'm sure he'll do many times. It's not going to happen. But and remember, he only cares about himself, not any other people in the party. So this isn't about that. It's not about winning support from libertarians. He didn't care. He didn't need them this time. But when you got a guy who is crypto adjacent, if you will, or really figured out before most people had a clue what crypto was, to profit and make, again, $200 million in business was done there. I don't know how much this guy made personally, but where you go. As of November 3rd, 2020, more than $1 billion worth of digital currency has been seized by law enforcement from Silk Road. $1 billion in currency. That's a lot. So Trump is maybe getting his little tutor. He's getting his guy to join in his scams. If you're going to build all these scams, you'd want Ross Ulbricht there. And that is the follow the coin or follow the money, as we used to say with, well, I didn't say with Richard Nixon because I wasn't alive yet, but it was used with him, and we've used it with Reagan and others since. Follow the money. And with the billionaire class right now, with the oligarchs running everything, with the four horses asses of the American apocalypse, as I've determined them, Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk, and they've got little side buddies who are billionaires too. Everything is about money. Everything is about power. Everything is about status. That's all they care about. They are truly corrupted souls whose evolution has gone awry and only care about collecting more resources. And so Ross Ulbricht ends up being a guy who is your meal ticket, maybe. Maybe he's smarter in this stuff than they are, which may make them very jealous. By the way, he also was accused of putting out hits on a couple people because he's a great guy. So that's why he was in prison for life. All of that. But again, I could say it over and over again. These guys, it's all Trump is trying to stay out of prison and make as much money as possible. Hence, he will release any prisoner. I don't care what this guy had done. This guy could have blown up an entire country. He would release him if the guy had crypto knowledge that he could share with one Donald Trump, piss cotton candy haired loser who can't make any money off of a casino, so needs to find scams to make his money off of. That's who we're talking about here. And Ross Ulbricht is his ticket. That's what I got for you. What do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I something else that rhymes with wrong? Am I strong? Do we need to pull a gong? What do you think? Anyone? Trump couldn't run a McDonald's. Of course he couldn't. And that's why you get a Ross, from Matthew Tarpley, that's why you get a Ross Ulbricht. That's my point. Is deep down, he knows he's a moron. You guys get that, right? That's why he hates the world so much. Donald Trump doesn't attack people when he calls so many people low IQ, because he looks at someone like Kamala Harris, who came from nothing like he did and was everything from a local prosecutor to an attorney general to vice president of the United States. And he knows she's better than him. He knows Barack Obama so much better than him. He knows Bill Clinton so much better than him. All of them came from humble backgrounds to get to where they got to. Hell, he knows George W. Bush is so much better than him, and that guy was born with 14 silver spoons in his mouth. So he knows he can't run anything. Deep down, he knows that. And he knows he wants to get rich. There's your Ross Ulbricht. And that's why the seemingly random guy, everybody's like, why the hell is he pardoning that guy? Crypto guys. You're going to be hearing that word a lot in the future. It is going to be our next big bubble, and I promise you it will be within 2 years the next thing that separates the rich and the poor even more if these guys are successful, as they convince people to invest in it. And again, like, this is a political show. I bring up pop culture, I bring up other stuff. I'm not particularly fond of going into Hawk Dua Girl, but, to me, the whole fact that that's what she did, and from that one stupid moment, got a podcast and made all sorts of money. And she's an idiot, clearly, because she could have just been happy with that. But then she made her little crypto coin and ripped her people off. And she may be held accountable for it because she may not be rich enough to buy off the right people. But, this is what we're going to be seeing. People who get famous in any way possible, or people who already are famous but are a little bit down on their luck and aren't, getting those movie parts anymore, or aren't booking those stadiums for their rock and roll or their rap or their whatever country tours anymore, or
they need something, so they're going to attach themselves to this garbage, and that's going to be the way that they're going to make a bunch of money, and they're going to know on the other side. It's kind of like the online betting stuff that we're doing with sports. Do I believe sports betting should be legal? I do, because I think that it's something I should have the right to do. Do I think that it should that these people that wouldn't let Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose and others for betting on baseball, and we can argue about whether they should have gone in or not, um, into the Hall of Fame, but they're now partnering with sports betting with, like, whatever it is, DraftKings or whatever the hell it is. I mean, it's the ultimate hypocrisy, right? I believe there should be sports betting. I don't believe you should have it. It's kind of like cigarettes. You should be able to smoke. Should we be out there advertising it to people that are vulnerable and maybe addicted so you can bring them in and basically take them for all their money? No, but no, they don't care. Once it was legal, it was a gold rush. That's what this is too. I think those two things you'll be seeing a lot of. So, Shoeless Joe was innocent. You are damn right. I'm glad to see somebody say that. Shoeless Joe hit over 300 in that World Series. How can you say somebody threw a game when they hit over 300? Now, the argument might be he knew what the other players were doing. Kennesaw Mountain Landis was the commissioner at the time. I mean, he had mountain in his name. Think about that. He was a racist. He's the one who kept preventing, and it took us all the way to Jackie Robinson to integrate the league. So he sucked, as most baseball commissioners have sucked, and the Shoeless Joe thing should have been fixed 50, 75 years ago. The fact that the guy, it's over 100 years and he hasn't been to the Hall of Fame is ridiculous. He batted 400. Sorry, I'm going to go off on my baseball thing here and there. And where are you, Bicycle Mike? I'm sorry, you can't say Pete Rose sucks. You can say Pete Rose sucks as a person, and I will agree. Awful person, right? I know that from what I understand, I had a relationship with a 17-year-old woman when he was God knows how old, underage, disgusting, should have been prosecuted for it. He bet on games that obviously he was managing, whether he bet for or against the Reds, doesn't matter. He was betting on them. Gross. But my two things are, you've got to be consistent. You're either going to let people into the game based on their play on the field and what they did, or we have to judge everybody, right? Who was it? And this is a history lesson, so I'm hoping people will appreciate this who don't like baseball, who don't even like baseball. I always get these two guys mixed up, so I want to make sure I get the right one. Yes, so there is a famous baseball player, Hall of Famer named Cap Anson, 1880s, 90s, amazing player. They were, at the time, Jim Crow hadn't been fully reinstated as the policy of the land. And there's actually a monument to this terrific black catcher, Moses Fleetwood Walker, who was on a team in Toledo, so up in Toledo, Ohio, where they played. And Cap Anson refused to play against black players and walked off the field. And because he was a Hall of Famer, was going to be in the future, others followed. And from there, I think it was around 1886, 1887, they started resegregation of baseball. And it took 70 years, 60 years, 1948 to fix that. So in what world does that scumbag belong in the Hall of Fame? If he's in the Hall of Fame, I saw somebody mention Ty Cobb, who, got in fights with people in the stands and punched them. Was the rumors are always that he bet on sports, but they were so scared of a second scandal after the one in 1919 that they covered the one up with him. The movie with Tommy Lee Jones at least claimed that where he bragged that he shot somebody in an alley and killed them and got away with it. He was known as an evil, vicious SOB. He was racist. He was horrible, terrible, terrible person. And he's in the Hall of Fame. And we can go on. There's some steroid abusers in the Hall of Fame. So point being, and others, it's not even worth going through, right? Like, you're either going to do it on what people did on the field or not. Pete Rose on the field was the best singles and doubles hitter of all time. That's what the record says. And he lasted for a long time and was a part of 3-4 championship teams. 17 or something time All-Star. He should be in the Hall of Fame. You want to put something next to him that he was a terrible person? Do it. Because I think he was a terrible person if you think I'm arguing in favor of him. I'm not. Shoeless Joe Jackson, I don't know either way. I know Ray Liotta was pretty cool when he played him in the movie. But um, when it comes to Pete Rose, I know. Well, I mean, my father-in-law went to the same high school, was about 6 or 8 years younger. So, I mean, he's from the west side of Cincinnati, conservative Catholic, this, that, other thing. I know a lot about Pete Rose being having lived here, and he's an absolutely detestable human being. But he was an amazing baseball player. And if we're going to make that distinction, make it. And if we're not going to make that distinction, take out the segregationists and take out the racists and the criminals and the other people that did horrible things. I mean, what's his name is in there? Is it Steve Carlton? Is it the pitcher, right, for the Phillies, who was out there spouting anti? He was crazy MAGA before it existed. He was out there 10, 20 years ago spouting crazy anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and all sorts of nutty stuff and encouraging crazy and whatever. I mean, again, we got to set a standard here. I can't stand it when people are treated differently, which is a lot of what life is about, right? In 2007, 2008, the idiots who caused the crash get bailed out and regular people are screwed. These are the things that animate me to do what I do. But sometimes I apply them to things outside of politics, and I'm saying in baseball, everyone needs to be treated equally. So make your choice. Everyone's in or everyone's out. I don't care for Pete Rose. You should stop talking about Cliff. Who cares if he was a good baseball player? I care. I mean, Puck, I appreciate that you're here, but like, this is my live stream. I'm running it, and I talk about things I enjoy talking about. I'm sorry. I hope you stay around here, but I spend most of my time talking about politics. You know that. I also am interested in baseball. I'm also interested in rock and roll. I've talked about my love for Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith here before. I also love cats. I've talked about my love for my 4 kitties, including my diabetic kitty here. I also love great cinema, great film, whatever. We had on Zaki Hassan as a movie reviewer to talk about Gladiator 2 and, some of the themes in some of the movies. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, you know what? I'm a three-dimensional person. I'm not going to just talk about politics. When other stuff comes up, particularly things that I think are related to politics, and I think it's a lot of politics and what happens in sports Hall of Fames, I'm going to talk about it. And I hope you'll stay here for it. But you know what? Like, I'm not going to stop being me. So there you go. That's why we're talking about it. Yes, Kurt Schilling, obviously, awful, horrible human being, although he hasn't made the Hall of Fame yet. Who said that? Somebody offering that. And I think because of the overtly racist remarks and MAGA stuff in the modern media age, he may not make it. And you know what? I would argue to you that he deserves to make it. I can't stand him, but we should have a standard. Set a standard, and I'll go by it. None of them get in, or all of them get in. And I would, by the way, Kurt Schilling gets up, I'd put up a plaque next to him. I mean, they put one up anyhow that would explain what an awful, despicable human being he is. You can do both and say this is solely for his playing. And I appreciate your staying, Buck, but it's not sports obsession. It's a topic. If I were obsessed with sports, I'd do a sports show, and I'd be talking about sports all the time. How many times have I talked about sports on here? Certainly not every show. Certainly not probably the majority of them. Again, like I'm a three-dimensional human being, exactly like the guests I try to have on here. So when Jody Hamilton comes on, we don't just talk politics. We talk about, hey, what was it like to be a singer and sing with members of Faster Pussycat and get an Emmy nomination and act and do other things and be Carol Burnett's daughter, right? When I have on John Fugelsang, we talk politics, but then I got into his acting career, his comedy behind it. What led him to that point, to that career? I want three-dimensional people. I try to be a three-dimensional person. I have other interests. This is always going to be majority politics, but we're going to get into other things. That's what I do. Kathy Hassan says, I'm staying, and I'm saying, damn good, because I'm staying too. We're going to all stay together. I mean, guys, come on. We got to, if all we do is we just talk 100% politics all the time, I promise you're going to all get burnt out anyhow. Puck, see, there you go. Now film that I can get into. Well, there may be somebody else in here who says, I hate film. I don't want that. And again, so those episodes, just, tune out and come back for the next one. I mean, we had you guys may remember, a lot of you who are here, we had an episode where where for the last hour of it, we were all sitting here saying what our first rock concerts or other rap, country, whatever music you like, what our first concerts were. Right? Like, I find that fun. So I'm doing, I'm going to do me. Me has worked so far in my life. So I'm going to stick with that. And I'm going to be as respectful to you guys as possible. But if there's a potpourri, if you will, beyond politics of 6, 7, 8 other topics that I am passionate about, that I find interesting, I find history interesting too. I love it. You usually see it gets mixed into some of my takedowns, but I also talk about it at other times, and if we want to sit here and discuss Roman history or something, I do that, or Greek history, or Verdun in World War I, or, you name it. Okay, like there are things that I like, and hopefully enough others of you fine folks will like them too. My middle son was all ready for his spot with the Yankees. Okay, I need this one because I'm a Yankee fan, as you know, largely. Reds fan too. From when he was 4 years old, but an injury to the team ruined his arm. Oh, I'm sorry. That's horrible. My son is playing now, and his major sport is soccer, where he's really, really good, but he's also a pretty decent baseball player. And so it's been fun watching him play. It's fun. I mean, this is fun stuff. You may not like Pete Rose, but a young woman waiting for years for the Phillies to be winners. You just don't understand. I actually on him and his wife as they argued in the restaurant, but I don't know. We missed a few words there, Joanna Carpenter, but I think I get your point. We have Karen from Chicago here, royalty among the sexy liberal crowd. Hi, Karen. Thank you for being here. Um, what was I saying? What was I saying? Roman Republic or the Roman Empire? Well, Elizabeth, what would you like to talk about? We can talk about the Republic. Then we can talk about where that schmuck Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, which is why it became a famous phrase, because you don't bring the military. We have a Posse Comitatus Act, and that's why when Trump talked about bringing the military in for deportations, a lot of people were like, yes, that's how democracies die. Julius Caesar knew what he was doing, and he was fighting it out with Pompey at the time. And he was bringing in military forces to support him. And that was the end of the Roman Republic, and it limped on. And, you probably know a lot of the rest. I find it fascinating. We were in Rome a year ago, and I'd been there before, but my kids loved it. We did all the stuff you would do. I still look at the Colosseum as one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, knowing that it was built 2,000 years ago by humans. Unless aliens came down, like was the theory with the pyramids, which I haven't seen, sadly, because when some of the unrest started in Egypt, it just wasn't a safe trip. But I still look at it. There's a line from the movie Gladiator, I think, by what's his face? African-American actor, played the side role in it with Russell Crowe. He's like, I did not believe men could build such things. It's hard to believe men and women, although it probably, if we're being historically accurate, was men, should have been women too. Although they probably were slaves, so maybe it would be better if it was nobody. But the fact that people built a structure like that at that time, it's like when I went to Stonehenge and, there were druids that would drag those things, some of those stones 400 miles or something to get them there. They'd only found similar stones. How the hell did they do that? I don't know. Superhuman strength, aliens, don't know. See, now I've been on all sorts of topics, and we can get back to politics. Kathy Hassan, if you're asking me, I am on Blue Sky. I don't spend as much time there just because I am now building the Substack. I'm building our Patreon here. Please, please, please sign up for the Patreon. Please, please, please sign up for the Substack. I had to make a choice at times that I'm a creator and I create things, be they broadcast, written, and to go to the places where I could make a living. And Substack, I'm able to get paid, and Patreon, I'm able to be paid, and YouTube, I'm still at, even though they make me angry as hell because I get paid for advertisements and stuff. I don't get paid for sharing thoughts and things at Blue Sky, and I've got like a crazy life. But with all that said, I would still love for you to follow me on Blue Sky. I still do put up videos there and some thoughts here and there. And Jim may beat me to the punch in giving you my Blue Sky. Let's Let's see if I can get it to you ahead of Jim. Jim is the fastest typing arm in the West. So there's the blue sky. Let's see if it, come on, you can do it. You can do it. You did it. So yes, if you're on Blue Sky, follow me there, definitely. But I will encourage more and Jim, if you can at some point, to put up the Patreon, the Substack. And also, if you guys, we've recovered somewhat. We lost two times in a row, 3,000 subscribers, or 2 to 3,000 at YouTube. I've been told that it probably was bots. I guess the Russian bots really liked me. That happened to a few others I know like me. I think they were messing with people who were resistance or whatever you want to call me, trying to screw with our algorithm and stuff. And I've never really recovered since then. So I'm going to ask you all right now, everybody in here, that if you are not subscribed to me on YouTube, please do that. That's an easy one. YouTube.com @cliffs_edge. See? So here's Patreon, here's Substack. We'll put that up first. I'll put my YouTube up. I'd love to. I think I'm at 100,000, 670 or 7 something at this point. I really want to break 101,000 because I've been stuck at 100,000 or below now for like 2 months because they took away people from me. And it'd be nice to break through and just get back to where we were. There was a crazy time through the last few months of the election where I was gaining somewhere between 15 and 17,000 subscribers a month. I mean, we doubled, and let's get back to that because that will take care of a lot of my problems. And I'll ask you for fewer super chats when YouTube realizes that I'm getting more views and I should be getting paid more money by them to do this. Is Twitter still tweeting, Elizabeth? I'm at Twitter. I'm so back and forth. I went on Stephanie Miller yesterday, and she was saying she thinks we should stay on because we shouldn't just see the platform. Then I went on Bob Seska's show. He's erased his whole account, and I'm somewhere in between. My account is there. I've been wanting to get my data out of there forever, but I'm always too busy because it cuts off in the middle because I think Elon's an a-hole and tries to make it as difficult as possible. My goal for Twitter, I think, is what I'd like to do is once I get all my data, I'm going to make sure everything is erased from there on my timeline up until maybe a week before or whatever it is, maybe less, and keep doing that. And I will just post Substacks, videos, and I live stream there. And that is the plan. And Karen, you are amazing. Karen, go join, for that. I mean, you've given that already. Thank you. But for that kind of stuff, you can go join the Patreon and get all sorts of free stuff. So please go do that too. And then, you will be all set. But that's really incredibly kind of you. And you're awesome. You are awesome. And I saw that you said something in a message to me about coming on your podcast. So now you can hold me to it because I'll say it publicly. Of course I'll come on. We just need to figure out when, because I have to, I don't want to ever sound like one of these people like I'm too important for anybody because I certainly am not. But as you may know, I announced it yesterday. I think I broke a record yesterday for me. I went on Stephanie Miller, and then I went on Bob Seska, and then I went on Tony Michaels, and then I had my own live stream. So I probably yesterday Bob overall, including his after hours for his Patreon, I think is a 2.5 hour experience. My live stream's a 2 hour experience. That's 4.5. I only went on Steffi for a half hour because I had to go on Bob's after. That's 5 hours. And I went on Tony Michaels for about 15 minutes segment. 5 hours and 15 minutes on air yesterday. So I want to go on your podcast, very much so. We just got to figure out when, because right now with the schedule of going on Hal for an hour on Monday, which, some Mondays I may go on less than an hour, and going on doing both Bob's thing and mine on Tuesday. Like we get here on Wednesday and I don't know how I'm still standing. I love doing this, but I mean, even somebody with a mouth as big as mine can get tired of talking eventually. But why don't we thank everybody here and encourage others if you can give super stickers or super chats. And if you can join Patreon or Substack, let us know. I know it doesn't pop up here, but please let me know. If you can be a paid member at Substack, it helps. I'm going to do a 50% deal there soon. But right now, everything's for free. So you can go and join Substack for free. You don't have to pay a cent. There's some people have been kind enough to offer. Of course, Jim has, because Jim's amazing and like is moderating for me, and then also always offers, super chats and joins things. And someday I'm gonna Jim taking you out, and if beer is your drink or tequila, we're gonna go on like a 3-day bender on me. The good stuff too, man, not the bad stuff. Um, please, please never change, Sheldon Hughes. Luckily, the cool thing is, Sheldon, is that I've got a public record at this point. And I'm not saying what the thing is that there's people that change their positions on issues, and there's people who evolve and say, I was wrong on that. And they don't do it because somebody's paying them or they're trying to you know, make money. Well, that's the same thing. Somebody's trying to pay them, or they're trying to make money. I mean, or they're trying to get on certain shows. You'll see, like, some of my positions on free trade have changed a little bit. My position on the death penalty, which I used to believe in sometimes, I am now fully against, although I will reserve for certain terrorists like bin Laden, who I'm not sure that we could have successfully brought back here and not had a mass attack against us. But I am against the death penalty almost always. Doing the Innocence Project work I did in Ohio made that as clear as day to me. So I've changed in some things. But they've always been, I could explain to you why I did. I have never changed who I am. I'm the same guy, which is sad. Not that I'm the same guy, because there are people whose shows I started out on. Um, one whose name rhymes with Tank Ruger, who was a completely different person when I went on the show. Like, he was similar to me, but I guess had to brand himself a certain way and had to get in there for that the far left bucks by attacking Democrats. And now it seems like that's not even enough. Now we're following the well-tread path of Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore, Tulsi Gabbard, and maybe going MAGA. I don't know. We'll find out. I keep saying one of these days I'm going to have a rant about Cenk, because I knew him back then. I know who he was, and he has changed. He is not the person he was, and it's a damn shame. It's really is, because I'd love to debate him. I could take apart every one of his stupid talking points. Oh, MAGA, they're not my enemy anymore. There's some MAGA radio shows that they're not the same. They're more populist. Oh, shut up. I've seen this is what Glenn said. This is what other people, whenever anybody wants to go to the far right, this is the crap they use. Democrats are the real elites, and there's some populist right-wing talk shows or whatever. Like Tucker Carlson's a populist right-winger. Yes, the Swenson frozen food fortune heir is a populist. He's doing it for the ratings because he got fired from 4 different TV stations, which might be a record, because he sucks and nobody likes him. So he had to do something to win people over. So he demagogued. It became a fake populist. But when it comes down to actually voting to raise taxes on billionaires, when it comes down to actually voting to give people health care, when it comes to actually voting to give people cheaper prescription drugs, Republicans always vote. They all vote against it, and they're just full of crap, right? And so that's the game Cenk's playing right now, pretending, there's this whole new. I mean, the MAGA base of now is not the MAGA base of before. Yes, it frickin' is. Shut up. The patent dishonesty really angers me, and I can't stand it. So honestly, I tell you to shut the whatever up, Cenk. But I don't want to get myself demonetized here. But bring your crap anywhere. I'll debate you anywhere, anytime. If I'm big enough for you. I know I only have 100,000 subscribers, so you wouldn't want to lower yourself. But I'll debate that anytime. All right, because this garbage about they're a different base, so the same exact base. They're a bunch of people there are 3 groups of people. They're a bunch of idiots are the largest part of that, who fall for everything, every lie. Then there's the business class group of them who don't like Trump and find him kind of disgusting, but stupidly convince himself he's the lesser of 2 evils because Kamala Harris, fill in the blank. And then there's the billionaires who own the party, who will make sure that none of these things, these populist things they talk about, ever happen, ever. Find me the Republicans. I can think of one Republican who proposed something populist, and it wasn't as good as the Democratic. Mitt Romney proposed a child tax credit after the Republicans let that run out, let poverty shoot up among children. And he proposed one, and it wasn't nearly as good as the Democratic one, but at least he proposed something. Find me another Republicans who proposed anything. In any case, Sheldon Hughes, after that, I will never change. Kelly Starr, takedown time. Yeah, we'll have another one, I think, because why not? I told you I may do this one on the fly. It's going to be fun. I appreciate it. $5 super chat. You are awesome. Sheldon, I don't even know how to go through all the stuff. Sound is good. Yes, it is. Don't forget to smash the like button. Yes, I should remind all of you, like, comment. Sometimes, like, I know you're all commenting in here, but there aren't that many comments below. I think that'll make the live stream go better, just the way I'm now sharing Substacks. And at the end of every one of these, I'm probably going to share a video in the chat. And I would, if you want to help me, watch the video. 50, 100, 1,000 more views, and the algorithm notices. That's another way you can be helpful. I should just put up all the Sheldon. Sheldon, how many times you give me? Please never. Well, we did that one already. I'm never changing. Sound is good, and we got. Don't forget to smash that. Okay, we got all of them, unless there's more from Sheldon. Back again with Karen, who's amazing. Thank you for the $49.99. That was very kind. Jen has gifted 5 Cliff's Edge memberships. Wow, Jen, you're fantastic. That's really kind. Remember, as I told you folks, again, I'm going to be consolidating that to one level. You'll see, because I have to make this a manageable operation, and I also have to diversify because YouTube could pull the plug on me tomorrow and there'd be nothing I could do. And that bothers me, but it doesn't mean that takes away. I still want to build up members, and I'm going to try my best to move members from YouTube over to Patreon, but YouTube members are important too. They're people too. No, they're awesome too. And I'm keep giving them the content I give them. So thank you. And of course, a $10 super sticker. You're incredible. That's always appreciated too. And now Sheldon Hughes. Sheldon, man, you, Mr. McAndrews in there, Jim, you guys are incredible. Thank you for all this. Please, again, I don't know anybody's backgrounds here. And I always say the same thing. I will say to you, please be generous and help me make this happen. And I will say to you, please don't harm your personal financial situation. That is never worth it. If you are in a situation where you can't afford it, or whatever, like whatever your reasoning, it's tough. Don't do it. Do it if you can. If you can, do it again and again and again. If it's not going to bother you financially, but if you can't, I mean, just your being here, you're supporting me. I appreciate the hell out of it. I really do. Let's see, guys. It could be time for takedown number 3. Let me look quickly as you talk amongst yourselves at the pastor story, so I can get that right, because I want to quote it right. Because remember, speaking out against a tyrant is how we do it in autocratic situations. Okay, this doesn't look like it. So no. Come on, Huffington Post has to have it. What do we got here? What do we got? Come on, guys. JP Morgan Chase CEO tells people to get over inflation. Oh, Jamie Dimon. You're so good at talking to the camera. He's not one of those who just sort of like, maybe you should get a spokesperson and shut up. It'd probably be a smart move for you. You don't seem to. Well, I found our Dutch friend here, so he's going to make it into what we say. There you go. Donald Trump has middle of the night meltdown over pastor's nasty sermon. There we go. Hilarious. So we've got our lawmaker, and we've got Jim Acosta. So let me get back to you guys, where I'm looking at you. Hey, I'm looking at you. Here's looking at you, kid. What do you guys think? Should we do another one on the fly? See if I can organize my thoughts. She handed him his R's. He didn't recognize it. Yeah, he probably had to have like somebody read it to him later and explain it to him in like really small monosyllabic words. And he was like, she said you were very mean. She said you're not nice. She said you are a racist towards people who are brown and black. She said you are kind of a jerk. And it kind of went like that, I think. We ready to do this? We're going to do this on the fly because it's fun. And I know you guys love seeing me screw up, like when my mic doesn't work. Hey, just by punching this, did I make my mic not work again? Probably. All right. Let's do this thing. As you guys know, as we all know, as anyone who's ever studied autocratic regimes lived under them knows, speaking out, fighting back, any act of disobedience, any act to humiliate the leader, any act to show independence cannot be accepted by them, right? Because they've become an autocrat for a reason. In Donald Trump's case, it's because he's a whiny little something baby that rhymes with pity that I won't say here. He's just a whiny little baby who was brought up spoiled and handed $400 million by daddy and blew it all on casinos where people, of course, walk in and to a room that has no windows and no clocks and pumps in oxygen and feeds you drinks and has you give them your money. It's the easiest scam in the world, and Donald Trump could not make it work because he's the worst business person ever created in the history of worst business persons ever created. He's the worst. All right. Well, so Donnie doesn't like criticism either, and neither do Republicans in general. They don't like being questioned. MAGA's always right, and it goes somewhat along with the white guys always being right thing because there seems to be a close correlation there. And we had 3 amazing examples over the past couple of days of just people standing up and doing what they should do in a democracy and different parts, different key institutions. Because when our institutions fail is when democracy fails. It's when they keep standing up is when we have a chance at this fight. So let's get into it, right? All right. First, we're going to talk about Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta right now, because CNN is a little toddler that fell off the swing in the playground and is crying and doesn't really know what the hell to do with their programming. They had Chris Licht for a while. I was like, yeah, we should try to seem a little bit like that salute that Elon Musk did the other day, and he ended up being fired because they hired all these right wingers. And shocker, nobody watched them. Hey guys, I got some advice for you. Right wingers, MSNBC, CNN, NBC, ABC, they're not going to watch your programming. They see you as the enemy of the people, as Donald Trump said. You will not win any of them over. You do have a moderate and a somewhat liberal audience. You are offending all of them. It may be why you're down 50%. You're morons. So, of course, they want to take Jim Acosta, one of the few true independent news people on that channel who challenges power. And they've talked about moving him to like a midnight slot. As I said, if they can create a 25th hour for him, they will do it. Well, guess what? He's going out with a bang if he is, because he's not taking any of this crap. Come in Tim Burchett, a low-rent Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'm not even kidding. Goofball loser. This is one of the guys who stood up and kicked Speaker McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, out, which I don't care. It was fun. And McCarthy walked by and I think barely touched his back, and he tried to accuse McCarthy of assaulting him and challenged him to a fist fight, basically, and wanted to fight with him. This is all on audio. So this guy, who's Mr. Tough Guy, and, no safe spaces and no tears and, gets touched in the back by somebody and wants to throw down, because that's the kind of guy he is. He's a guy that, as a state senator and congressman, hasn't reported in the past 6 different PACs that he had. 6 different PACs. They just didn't exist because he's a crook. Other things, when there was a shooting at a school in Tennessee, his response was, well, we were taught by my dad, and he was in Japan, that if people want to do something, they're just going to do it. Oh, really? Should we have that rule with abortion rights, gay rights, and all the things that you hate that you try to ban? Oh, no, only with your little penis extension that you love, right? Even though every other country, it's not a long list. It's just, I don't know, Japan, Canada, Denmark, Belgium, France, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand. Should we go for more? Sweden, Norway, Greece, Italy. We could go on for a long time. Have all instituted the kinds of things like background checks, assault weapons bans, limiting the size of magazines, red flag laws, psychological exams, making people prove they can use a firearm on the range, and licensing and registration as you would do with anything dangerous. And they've cut down on their gun violence by 90%. The worst one, 70%, who allow some ownership. Again, Tim Burchett's lying. It's what he does. He's stupid. What else did Tim Burchett do? Hey, I've got some notes I took here. Let's see. What did he do? Oh, right. When there was that shooting in Kansas City when they're doing the parade, he immediately came out and blamed it on a quote illegal alien. He was wrong who he blamed it on. He just saw somebody in the crowd. So he's obviously a really responsible guy. He immediately went to racist. And what ended up happening with Burchett? Well, he's being sued. So he went up against Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta decided to question him on pardons and commutations by Donald Trump. And he would not admit it. It was cringe inducing. Okay. There's been wide bipartisan condemnation. Tom Tillis condemned it. Lisa Murkowski condemned it. Numerous other Republicans did, but he wouldn't condemn it. Oh well, that they weren't all the same. I mean, there's some of those people who are just there, being tourists. Well, then why the hell has he pardoned everybody? Oh, I don't know what to say. And then of course he went to. It's good to be here for my weekly beating on CNN. Cry, whine, life's tough. Wah wah wah. I'm MAGA. Everybody's mean to me, even though I'm in the majority and have taken advantage of everybody. And Acosta pressed him to denounce what happened, to denounce this pardon in January 6th. And of course, he even quoted the Fraternal Order of Police on it, which we talked about earlier. Burchett, Jim, if they broke the law, they ought to be in jail. You spring this stuff on me. I don't know. You spring this stuff on me. Sounds like your answer to guns and other stuff. You should know. You're a freaking congressman. It's the Capitol. It was attacked. Maybe knowing is part of your job. Idiot. Why don't you just give an editorial and not let me come on? Because he's having you come on, Burchett, and you're right. He should not have you on because you've proven that you are literally like if a lie came to life and looked like a putrid day old hot dog, it would be you. What happens to the riots that take place across the country? Police are murder riots, and they do that too. Well, what about all these other riots? Yeah, we arrest people for that too and put them in prison. What about all the police murdered? We arrest people and put them in prison for that too. I mean, they always try this, and he just wouldn't admit it. And they ended with the best part. Acosta's like, why wouldn't you say you were wrong, Mr. President? You're wrong, Mr. President. And Burchett, of course, cried and whined and was like, well, why can't you say it? Why can't you say it? And he was like, oh, well, why don't you show some coverage of it? You won't show any footage. You won't show what happened. And this is the best. Jim Acosta, who had footage on the time, was like, I'm showing it right now. If I drop this mic, it would not work again, as you guys know, ever. So I'm not going to drop it, but owned. That's Tim Burchett, who got beaten apart. And that's Jim Acosta, a member of our media, our mainstream corporate media, basically stinks. It basically sucks, but he has been a huge exception who has done yeoman's work to get the truth out there. So plaudits and kudos. Oh no, I touched the microphone. Is it still working? Clap, clap, clap for him. Tell me if the microphone isn't working because then I'm going to cry. Oops, sorry. I popped on that for a second. Okay, so in addition to that, and hold on a second, let's make sure the audio looks like it's still working. Yay, awesome. All right. So in addition to that, we have an example of Donald Trump in a church, which is funny enough to begin with. I mean, you'd think he might, a la Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate, if he put his finger in the holy water, it would start to steam and burn. You think lightning might shoot down at Trump. Apparently didn't happen. But maybe God's got a good sense of humor if you believe in that kind of thing and is saving it. So, but he did have a middle of the night meltdown over going to this church and having a pastor talk to him. So here we go. Trump flipped out on social media, ripping, I think the name is Booty, which is Bud. Should I call it Bud? Because Booty just doesn't sound good. It's Reverend Marianne Edgar Booty, an Episcopal bishop in Washington. I went to an Episcopalian school in New York City for 10 years. Very liberal minded. It was integrated when I started in like pre-K-ish, late 70s, early 80s. Amazing. Always the mainstream churches have been key institutions in this country. And the problem is that we've let them been drowned out by the religious right, which is fully corrupt and is made up of these mega church Joel Osteen types who won't let people in their house when there's a flood, because that's what Jesus would have done, or one of their two airplanes. Or I mean, you want to know what the grift that Trump aspires to? Look at Joel Osteen. They're the disgusting destruction of the New Testament message, which, whether you're a Christian or not, is an amazing message of healing and taking care of your fellow man or woman and everything you should be doing. Well, this church pastor in an Episcopalian church, and again, those like United Church of Christ, Presbyterian churches, a lot of those have remained more moderate to liberal and have kept preaching their message, and they're an important part of the mainstream of Christianity, and they're an important part of our institutions. So the Reverend asked Trump to, quote, have mercy on those, quote, scared about his return to the White House and the effect his policies may have on them, such as LGBTQ children and undocumented immigrants. Oh my God, what a harsh criticism. How terrible. How dare you ask Donald Trump? Donald Trump, I mean, he should have, what was the word he used? Did he use the word compassion? He did it, wait, what was it again? Mercy. Yeah, Donald Trump doesn't understand what that is because he's a sociopath. There is no empathy. There is no mercy. There's just my ego, my narcissism, my money, my everything. Everything's it's always about him. I mean, imagine this person just asked him to have mercy on scared children. Mercy on scared children. Donald Trump is the type of one, it's like, who is the bad dude in the movie Titanic who was like knocking kids and women aside to get on the lifeboats? That's Donald Trump. And so he lost his mind in the middle of the night. What is it about him? He goes to sleep and he has to wake up in the middle of the night, probably to sit on the crapper, which is repulsive to even think about. It's golden. And he can't help himself. Like the anger boils up in him because he's so deeply insecure because he knows he's a failure. He knows he's nothing. He knows his dad didn't love him. And he can't. So he has to strike out at anybody who slightly criticizes him because he hears it in his dad's voice all the time. Trump flipped out on social media, ripping Booty as a so-called bishop. I think the Episcopalian Church decides whether someone's a bishop, not you. Okay? You get to decide other things, like if their orange spray, paint on their faces is sufficient. I mean, we'll let you judge that contest and, maybe a few others. No more beauty pageants, though, because you sneak in the girls' locker rooms and your people don't mind that at all either. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. No, she told you to have mercy on children, you dick. Trump fumed. She was a nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. We'll leave compelling or smart aside because Donald Trump judging whether somebody is smart is like Elon Musk judging if somebody's a pasty putrid. Damn it, I messed the joke up. A pasty putrid Putinite. So leave aside compelling and smart. Donald Trump is neither of those two things, but nasty. Again, the Reverend asked, the Episcopal bishop asked Trump to have mercy on those scared about the White House and the effect his policies might have, such as LGBTQ children and undocumented immigrants. Wow, that sounds nasty. I mean, have you heard anything like that before? It's like boxers before a boxing match going at it. After so-called bishop, who is a radical left hardline Trump hater. I'm going to get 4 years of this pathetic loser's just callow and shallow and the ego, the lack of confidence, the pathetic. In case I said about the world of politics not compelling and smart, then Trump peddled his usual anti-immigrant rhetoric, saying she failed to mention the large number of illegal immigrants that came into our country and killed people. Absolutely not true. You're a liar. And that level of immigration has been going down. There's been H-1B visas that you and Musk pissed your base off with. That's gone up among well-educated Indians. So have fun fighting your base on that, and maybe bring Vivek Ramaswamy and what's his name? Good old J.D. Vance is little silly boy from who tried to peddle opioids on his own people after saying he'd stand up for them. Maybe bring his wife and family along and bring Vivek along and others and see if you can't get in a huge fist fight with your MAGA friends. But no, your claim about immigration, it's actually down, way down. And no one's killing people. Yeah. There are some exceptions. There's some immigrants who kill people just like Americans. The immigrants killing people are a lower percentage. In any case, he concluded, apart from the inappropriate statements, the service was very boring and uninspiring. I love when he does that. It's like, hi, I hate you. You said something mean about me. Now I'm going to insult what you did. And it's not going to be transparently obvious to everybody that I'm just saying that what you did was bad because you insulted me, not, and if you turned right around and said, I think Donald Trump's the greatest president ever, he'd be like, that was the most inspired and incredible speech ever. Like that he does this like a child and that people don't laugh at it. that, anybody who doesn't like him is terrible, and anybody who likes him is great at what they do. Chachi's an amazing actor. She's not very good at her job. You suck at yours, Donald. The church owes me a public apology. You owe all of us a public apology for existing and for smelling really bad, according to Adam Kinzinger. So there you go. The church stood up to Trump. Trump lost bluish badoinkle. It happens. He's a loser. But another important institution stood up to Trump and stood up to MAGA. All right. And finally, we have our third one, I believe. I thought we did. What was our third one? I love when I forget in the middle of these things exactly where I was headed. Oh, right. Our Dutch friend. Trump can't shut up about Greenland. Greenland, and we've shown in a majority poll, does not want America. I think it's 83% or larger. Does not want America to run Greenland. I wonder who the other 17% of people are, if they are in comas. They're quite happy having the free healthcare and the great family medical leave and other benefits of being part of the kingdom of Denmark, even though they have some independence. And they've kept trying to tell Trump in every way possible. They kind of joked with him. They're like, well, maybe we can take over America and help America get healthcare and things like that. They tried that. They tried saying, no, we love being independent, but we'd love to work with America in a more serious way. But he can't just shut up. So, a blunt public message from a member of their parliament, and more members of parliaments and more leaders need to speak out like this internationally to let Donald Trump know that threatening places and making it seem like you might invade them and saying they should be part of America when they don't want anything to do with being part of America is not acceptable. Your president, dumbass, shut up. So this is from Anders Vistisen in the parliament, and I apologize to Anders if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. He's a member of the European Parliament, and he had a public message for Donald Trump this week about making Greenland part of the United States. Dear President Trump, listen very carefully, said Anders Vistisen, and he's a right-wing lawmaker from Denmark, so this is even better. Said on Tuesday, Greenland has been part of the Danish kingdom for 800 years. It is an integrated part of the country. It is not for sale. Donnie doesn't get that. Not for sale part. If that wasn't direct enough, he next used some language that got him into a little trouble with the organization. Let me put it in words you might understand, he said. I'm sorry, I have to say this, so I hope YouTube doesn't hit me for it, but what am I going to do? Mr. Trump, fuck off. Anders, and I know you're right-wing in Denmark, and in Denmark that might mean like you just want the amount of vacation time for workers to be cut from 12 weeks to 10 weeks. When I went over to France, my friend in France who considers himself center-right has pretty much the same policies as me. May even be a little bit to the left of me. The European spectrum is very different. And then they responded, it was great. Nicole Stepanuto, vice president of the European Parliament, said, if the translation was correct, the term you used is not allowed in this house, and there will be consequences for the message you used. It's not okay in this house of democracy. Thank you. Regardless of what we think of Mr. Trump, it is not possible to use such language. So she's basically saying, yeah, I think the same thing. He should F off, but I can't say it out loud, and you can't say it out loud because we've got rules about decorum. Just because we've looked at Mar-a-Lago and we see there is no such thing as decorum there, there still will be in the European Parliament. But bravo. Bob Cesca has the Heroes of Democracy in his show. I'm going to call this Heroes of America. So Jim Acosta and, our pastor, damn it. Come on, let's get the name again. Well, let's start with Jim Acosta and Anders Vistisen of the Dutch Parliament, and the so-called bishop, as Trump called her, Marian Edgar Booty of the Episcopalian Church. You have been heroes of democracy and shown what institutions in America and around the world should do to stand up to the autocratic threat of Donald Trump. Thank you. And that, my friends, has been our last of our three, let's call them, takedowns today. I hope you could hear me that whole time. Yeah, the center right in Denmark is like the social dem left in the U.S. from Jesse James. Again, right. I mean, I think, again, my French friend who's center right, like he's a Macron guy, sort of. I mean, Macron, again, they've solved, as I said before, the big things over there. They're fighting over the little things. We haven't solved the big things, like nuts getting their hands on guns and fighting climate change and having people have how should we put it? Whole lives, not just work, but whole entire lives. Work is part of it, but not all of it. You have sick leave, you have maternal and paternal leave, which is family medical leave. You have great health care. You have real wages. CEOs are taxed at a high rate. They don't tax capital at a much lower rate than um, than your earnings, your wages. There's no carried interest loophole for these guys who pretend that that the money they're making is all capital gains. These billionaires at private equity houses, like they've fixed all of that. So the truth is yeah, you may want to cut back on a few of those things if you're center right. But they're so far to the left of us that even if you want to cut back on a few of those things, you're still going to end up to the left of me. Actually, not. I mean, I believe in everything I just said. I'm just guessing. I think I'm liberal is where I'd go. I sometimes call myself center left, but I think liberal is probably the most accurate description because I believe in capitalism, but I think we should regulate the hell out of it, tax the hell out of rich people, break the hell up of monopolies, raise the minimum wage by a ton, have guaranteed family and medical leave, and all of these things. Obviously, you know where I stand on all sorts of social issues, so I'm probably a social democrat. I'm just not a democratic socialist, which is A, bad branding when you're naming yourself after like East Germany, and B, is that harsh sort of, I think, real socialism. And I'm an entrepreneur, and I think that should be encouraged. Small business, I think, is a good thing. I think everything that is a public necessity should be run by the government. I'd let them run transportation and medicine, and I'd let some private entities compete. And if they prove they can compete, great. You can go there because I like competition. I think competition's good. I think government should have it, and I think private industry should have it. But I don't know. There you go, guys. You're progressive, Cliff. Maybe I am. I don't know. There's some people that start calling themselves progressive that are people that I are not me, and that's why I stopped using that word. I used to use that word about myself all the time. I like liberal better because liberal the term comes from obviously one of my original PR firms was called Libertas LLC from Latin. It means in liberty, openness, transparency. That's what I'm about. Okay. If Cenk Uygur is a progressive, I'm not a progressive. If Nina Turner is a progressive, I'm not a progressive. If Rashida Tlaib is a progressive, I'm not a progressive. Um, Folks like that, the harsh left, who spend all of their time attacking people like me and attacking Democrats, are the ones who have called themselves progressives. And so if they're progressive, I am not, is what I would say to you. I'm all for goodness, kindness, equality, and helping the less fortunate, Corley. I'm for all that stuff too. But I'm sorry, like we moved from liberal to progressive, and I did that too. But I like the term liberal. I think it describes me well. Openness, transparency, caring for others, caring for the freedom of everybody. And that means economic freedom too. And you can't have economic freedom when you're starving, and you can't have economic freedom when you don't have a home, and you can't have economic freedom when you don't have a job. And so these are things I fully believe in. But I don't believe in something that's a harsher form of socialism. And I don't believe, and again, these are all like debates to be had. I'm saying socialism of the form where everything is equal and blah, blah, blah. Social democracy, you make things more equal. And I do think people owe that for the benefits of what they've gotten from being in this country. But I named people before that I will never line up with. I think someone like AOC, who I used to have differences with, I think is an amazing communicator. I think she says some things I disagree with that can piss me off sometimes. And I think also that she's part of the spectrum of where Democrats are. So I very much support her. I think Rashida Tlaib, when she wouldn't endorse Joe Biden, stepped outside of that spectrum, encouraged Muslims to vote, not to vote. And we end up seeing 30% vote for Trump, another 19% vote for Jill Stein, which may have cost us Michigan. I'm not with her at all. She's just about yelling into the wind and helping elect right wingers who will literally destroy the Middle East. I'm sorry, but also the fact is, again, You know, when you people who reflect, I don't want to get into this whole thing, but people who reflexively take a look at the state of Israel and say that there was no right to existence originally and that there was no reason for it to want it to be Zionist, which I'm not really. But when people equate that, when your people are systematically wiped out, you might need a place that you know is going to remain a state for you. Bibi Netanyahu and those people are horrendous and evil and they're war criminals. But when I saw the way people reacted on that day in October when Hamas invaded and we're doing horrific, barbaric, middle age kind of things on camera, purposely streaming them live. It killed one old woman, a grandmother, and they streamed it to her Facebook page. And people's reaction right away, before anything happened, before it was ceasefire, which is what it existed before. I'm sorry, that's anti-Semitism. That's or you're just sitting there and saying you have this rubric of what's colonialism and what's not. And I'm sorry, you can find 2,000-year-old relics of up on the Temple Mount of when Jewish people were there. So maybe I'm more moderate on foreign policy. Doesn't mean I think this war was fought right. It doesn't mean I don't care. I do care about innocent Gazan civilians. I don't want them being bombed. I don't want any of that. But my God, to act like the whole thing was like some plan for Israel to just go out and attack. Come on. That's ridiculous. Iran and Hamas knew what they were doing. And as Malcolm Nance, who came on here, talked about, that was part of an op. They wanted that war. Putin wanted to change where people were looking, and people didn't see that in that broader spectrum. And it's the same thing with parts of Europe. And being as pro NATO as I am, and other stuff, there are people that question some of those institutions from the far left, and I'm not them. I don't think they're perfect. NATO, the EU, IMF, whatever, but institutions hold our world together and prevent war. Bibi turned a blind eye in order to stay in power. Jim Williams, exactly right. He's a criminal. He used this war to stay in power. He doesn't care. He will kill innocent Palestinians. But you start throwing it against all of Israel, well, then we're all Donald Trump. How about that? Because that's the same comparison. There are a lot of, when a country is constantly under siege, they may act in a siege mentality. I mean, this is a country that was attacked, I don't know, 15 different times, numerous times by many Arab countries, has sought out peace, signed a peace agreement with Sadat in Egypt, gave 97% of what both Arafat and Abbas wanted, and they rejected it. And Arafat said he rejected it because he was scared he'd be killed. I mean, you don't get to look at all of that and then come at it like you're murderers and you're committing genocide. It's also not genocide. So, okay. And there's a loaded term that leads to my family being in danger, that leads to people equating me with that. So I'm sorry. Now, same thing with on the foreign policy front with a number of other countries. I'm a hawk on helping Ukraine. And there's some people here, some people on the left who are just like, no, we need to stay back. War is always bad and whatever. No, sometimes you need to fight wars like we did World War II. I would have been much more aggressive. I would have allowed than Putin, than Biden was. I would have allowed them to shoot those missiles into Russia a year or two ago. Hell, right after it began, maybe it would have stopped this thing sooner. We should have defended them more. And frankly, should have very seriously thought, we can't send troops into there, but military advisors, other things. So that's why I don't call myself progressive. Maybe I'll start doing it again when I see enough people associate themselves with it that aren't people that I don't want anything to do with. I suspect Musk manipulated voting machines. Well, Donald Trump said something the other night that made you wonder. I thought maybe just Donald Trump being stupid and saying Musk knows computers great, and he looked at those computers and he knew we were going to win by doing the calculations, the kinds of laptops you look at on election night. I don't know. What I'll say at this point is I wouldn't, I don't know that he did it. I know that absolutely, if you can, that they've not made it foolproof, it can be done. And I know that I don't believe for a second that Musk wouldn't do it. I don't know why in every election we don't just have, as a matter of course, afterwards, we don't have in every place the votes counted. every single one. And you don't have to do every single one. You do a sample and you compare it. That should be done in every precinct. But we also should have equal voting access in every precinct and all the other stuff we have. So I don't know. Hopefully everything I said made some sense to all of you, and maybe I pissed some of you off. But these are the ways I feel. There's a war going on right now, and we can accept it or not. And some of it is coming from our own country, and it's because we wouldn't accept that Putin made very clear since 2012 and even earlier, which at this point seems pretty clear. Snowden was his first op, that he wanted to undermine the West, cause internal strife, help autocracy rise in NATO countries, break up NATO, and lead us back to the pre-World War II order, where he could go in and grab Ukraine and maybe even other places, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia. That's what he wants. That's a lot of that. He's not even his ambitions of the Soviet Empire. Hell, maybe the Tsarist Empire beyond it. He feels humiliated because he's a little weak man, another pathetic little man boy, by what happened with the Soviet Union. Sorry, you picked a stupid form of government and it didn't work. You all could have gone with Kerensky between the two revolutions, who believed in democracy, but no, you chucked him out for Lenin. That's why I don't believe that big revolutions are a good idea unless it's a last resort, because you almost never end up with who you want. Mr. Stoner Dude, thank you for the $2 super chat. Oh my God, it's 3:56, guys. I've been having so much fun here with you and talking to you. If we go above 2 hours, as I've told you, and I think I started a little bit late today, but not by much, I lose I have to do all this extra editing even to put this thing back up. And it's already going to be kind of weird when I replay it once and there's like gaps in there because of me messing around with the microphone. So it has been a pleasure today. You're awesome. Is anybody here who's going with me? Who's going with me? I need one Patreon membership, or I need one 99-cent super chat, or one $1.99 or $4.99 super sticker. Who's coming with me? Don't make me take the goldfish. I'm on the way out. Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? I know what's going to happen is I'm going to start leaving here, and then you guys are going to pile stuff on. I'm going to have to thank you, and I'm going to go over the time. So you know what? You're awesome. And if you give me stuff, I will jump back in the comments and thank you. Or I will thank you tomorrow. There we go. Michael McAndrews with $1. Michael McAndrews always coming through in the clutch player, that Michael McAndrews. I would put him in to go back to baseball before, at the risk of pissing people off. He'd be my cleanup hitter, I believe. You've been fantastic. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to a lot of me today, dealing with my computer and microphone not liking each other. There will be a new computer soon, and there will be a call to the microphone people. It probably won't happen before tomorrow because I just don't have enough time. But Friday, without a stream to do, there'll be one of these that will be up on Friday at 2. So if people missed it, can watch that then, and I will be able to find the time to go and fix this issue. That's what I'm hoping, unless it snows and it's crazy. Thank you for being you, Cliff, Matthew Tarpley. Again, I always will be. I appreciate that. I am who I am. I hope you like me, but if you don't, well, I'm sure there's other people out there you'll like. Sheldon Hughes, $1, of course, because you always come in many times during the show. You'd be my number 3 batter, I believe, in this lineup. Solid hitter, good hitter for power and average. Awesome. Thanks, guys. As Corley said, it's nice therapy. It's nice therapy for me too. Take care. Love you all. I will see you same bad time, same bad channel, 2 p.m. tomorrow. And as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell.